Hello, hello, hello. It's your new day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen, where we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it's yours. In our 30 minutes, we talk about your emotions and mind and how they tie into your body and spirit. We want you to renew and restore yourself in a world that wants you crazy. And sometimes we even talk about money. Introducing your hosts, Donna Reiners and Dr. Cami Owen. Hello, hello, hello. This is Donna and Dr. Cami, and I thought today we would talk about a beautiful subject that is near and dear to my heart called control. Control. So let's say, my example of control, people control because they want to feel safe, and controlling things makes them feel safe or has the illusion of feeling safe.
Yes.
So guess what happens? What control looks for? Control looks for someone that needs to be controlled, because the person who needs to be controlled actually wants to be controlled because it makes them feel safe. But why do they feel safe? They feel safe because they don't have to make any decisions for themselves. They have very little personal responsibility, see? Mm-hmm. Why do they have little personal responsibility? Because they want to get with someone who controls and makes all the decisions for them. So this is the danger, though. Here we have control. Here we have the need to be controlled. Let's say one of these decides, let's say need to be controlled decides, I just don't know that I want to be controlled anymore. And maybe they won't have that vernacular. It would be something like, man, I need to grow in this area. I really need to make my own decisions. I should participate in paying the bills. I should be doing the grocery shopping. I need my own money. I need some she money, or what have you. And so this person begins to grow and develop his or herself. And as you go along that journey, you realize that you are more capable than you thought you were when you first needed to be controlled. And that then you begin experimenting on making decisions. And some of those decisions are total fails. Why? Because more than likely the reason you needed to be controlled was based on a trauma that happened years and years ago, where you decided, I'm never making a decision like that again. The vows are just action plans. But when you're able to come free from that vow and decide, hey, I'm safe to make this change. I'm safe to make this change and to heal. I'm safe to make this change to have a different me, a different future. When you make that decision and you start moving in a different direction, guess what happens? Control freaks out, because control is used to making all the decisions. And all of a sudden, guess what there is? This person and this person get in conflict. And that's where you have to continue to say to your internal world, I'm still safe to make this decision. I'm still safe to make this change. And I will just say a little caveat is, if you're with someone who's verbally abusive, if you're with someone who's physically abusive, and you know what I mean, like a real abuser, and things get out of hand, you'll have to decide, can you still decide to be safe to make that change, meaning you make some other changes other than just personally developing yourself? Yeah. Can you do it? Will you do it? Will you care enough about yourself? Will you exercise what is known as self-love and get out of that situation? Most situations aren't like that, but I'm just saying, control need to be controlled. What are your thoughts on what this produces? How does that work in real life?
Well, I've seen it many times firsthand in the emergency room.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes it took 5, 10, 15 times of trying to leave. Because when you're in a physically abusive relationship, there's many resources for you. I would encourage you to choose you and actually reach out. There's a lot of places that you can go and get help with that. If you don't know where to go, you can go to a local emergency room or a local police station or a local fire station and say, I need help, I'm being abused. Having said that, there this is the ugly side of the Control E, and she touched on it, that there's a big juicy payoff for not having responsibility, not having to make the decisions, not having to make the money, not having to, think about anything but today and the things in the house I have to do. And there's some little small part of you that is afraid of being your divine self. And there was something trauma-wise, or a decision that was made sometime in your life that said, I choose to play small. I choose to play small. And then that unfolds in your life, and the partners you choose, and the friends you choose, and the job you choose, or the lack of a job you choose. All of those things are consistent with your choice. And you're going to hear us say this over and over and over. It is your choice.
Yes.
Well, Cammie, that's not true. I didn't choose this, and I will argue with you that you did. By agreement, by your actions, by your thoughts, by your agreement of somebody else saying something ugly to you, and then you agreed with it in some place, in your soul, in your body, in your being, and then you get on the business of being that for the rest of your
So that's a
life.
Victim mentality versus victorious. I know where that rooted in. I had a flash. When I was 15, I worked for Astro World for you from the Houston area.
Hey.
And I was in charge of I worked at the largest restaurant there at 15.
Okay.
Where we didn't really pay attention to how long we worked. We worked all day and all evening. I mean, I have the varicose veins to prove it. Because we didn't do sport hose and those things when you were a kid. And so I was so good at what I did that I got promoted to manager. So here I am in charge of the largest restaurant on one of the biggest days that we're having. And if you've ever been to an amusement park, it is messy. People are ridiculously dirty with all their, So I know that day everybody called in and we're shorthanded. One cashier, one cook person, one person in the cooking, and then busboy. I decided to busboy because I figured I could get it done fast because I have ownership, right? Here I am, and this restaurant had this huge area, so I've gone through and I've cleaned the whole thing, and the big dogs are coming to visit us. Okay? The pressure's on. Authority's coming to see you. And here I am. I get it all done. It's shiny. It's beautiful. I'm so proud and I'm so excited. But you know how you can be blindsided and you can be tunneled and you're just looking at one thing because you're just trying to get something finished? Well, I looked up and I looked over and I remembered, oh my, there's another area of the restaurant just like this. And the big dogs, came in on the other side. So the first impression of me was mess. The looks on their faces that I saw. So all that effort, me taking responsibility, me taking ownership, me attempting to be the manager.
Doing all the things
that you're supposed to do, because like when you're responsible for something, that's what you do. That's how it works when you grow and you develop. I know that stopped a lot of that, and the other thing that happened is that I stopped developing in that area of responsibility without me realizing. I started shutting it away and shutting it down so that I didn't want to take responsibility. And then remember, 3 years later, my mom passes away. And so I've got all these things that happen one after another that put me in shutdown. I'm not in that any longer, but it didn't happen overnight. It took a minute to renew my whole gumption, my resilience to say, no, even if I make a mistake, it's okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm safe to make this change. I'm safe to make this change, because at the end of the day, it isn't your energy that keeps you. It is your decisions that keep you. And if you're married and you have control, marrieds need to be controlled, and one of you changes, I guarantee, honey, it's the decision that keeps you in that marriage. It's not the energy flowing between you.
True.
Okay, sorry.
Absolutely.
Those are thoughts.
No, I agree with you 100%. I was thinking of a lot of who we are 100% about that decision. That there's pivotal ones that happen. Usually around 7 or 8, you make a decision.
True.
and that's just how it's going to be. I remember a pivotal decision when I was 2. My brother was rambunctious. He was into everything, climbing up things. He was 5 years older than I was, so I didn't experience any of that part of him.
He was 7.
So he was 7. I was 5, and we were at a dog show. It was a friend of ours. They showed German Shepherds, and we were in a parking lot somewhere. And I remember this like it was yesterday, but I was 2, and my mom had me go sit over and I was obedient. I was a very obedient child. If you told me go sit, I went and sat, and I shut up about it and I didn't say anything. And probably because I watched them get onto my brother, because he was not obedient at all. So I'm just making that story up, but I think there probably was some of that, because I've heard the stories. Anyway, so I was a very obedient child. You talked to my mom, she said I was very easy and very obedient. So she sets me on the curb, and she says, sit here, don't say anything. Because I think she was probably having to chase down my brother or something. You know, she's a mom, you know.
Sure.
And so I sat there, and apparently I sat in a ant bed. And I'm sitting, and there's ants crawling all over me, and they're just biting me all over. But I was told to sit there and not say anything. So I sat there and didn't say anything.
Oh my.
And then, you know, I have these little tears running down my face, and my mom finally comes over and sees me, and she's like, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, but you said don't say anything. You know, I was being obedient. And there was some part of me that says being obedient is a terrible idea. So I wasn't that obedient after that.
I bet not.
Yeah. So I wasn't a bad kid, but
you weren't gonna rob a bank, but
I've always, at some point, some decision came over me that I'm not going to listen to other people. Other people don't necessarily have my best interest. And so I'm going to do what I want to do. And I pretty much am that person to this day, much to many people in my life's chagrin. But yeah, we have those experiences, and we make a decision, and then it's out of our awareness. Like it goes back and is a tape playing that we have no idea it's playing. We have no idea that it ever happened.
That's right.
Because the ones we remember are of choice at that point. When it comes around here and you go, okay, I'll keep that. But when it's just playing, we have no idea, we don't have any memory of it, any of that, then that's what's running the show instead of you. You're not of choice anymore. That is running the show. So that's part of our talks together and time together, is to help you bring these things into your awareness so that you can actually be of choice in it. Not like it's right, not like it's wrong, but that it just is, and then you can choose it. Does that work for me?
Right.
Does it not work for me? Either way is fine, as long as you are of choice in it. Many, many times in a marriage, for example, you know, when there's an affair, most of the time it's just because somebody started paying attention to somebody else. That's it.
It's true.
There's not, I can say this, I've been married for almost 36 years, and to the same guy. And there's days that I've wanted to choke the life right out of him, as he has wanted to choke the life right out of me. Luckily, neither one of us ever did that.
That's good. But I wouldn't want to meet you in prison.
Yeah. But I would be owned in prison if I was there.
Yeah, you would.
But I have been to jail a couple of times, and we can talk about that another time. But just saying. But you know, in the world of choice, choosing your spouse and choosing your relationship, because is there somebody hotter, finer, sweeter, kinder, better looking, whatever? Probably, yeah. But does that mean that you can make a relationship better with that person? Probably not, because you're coming with them.
That's right.
You're coming into that relationship. The choices you bring, the tapes that are playing in your head that you are unaware of, are the ones that you will bring. And I know you've heard this in the past of women especially, I seem to pick the same guy. I seem to pick the same guy
for that.
because you were playing the tape that said this is the guy that you feel like you deserve.
Yes.
Yeah, and it could be that controlly. So a big step out of your comfort zone in that can you have the courage to make the change is to choose yourself first.
Yes, good.
So you must choose yourself and what is good for you. And again, in the spirit of looking at what do I believe? Do I believe that because I believe it? Is something internal, something my internal guidance, the divine intelligence inside of me says, yes, that's the truth? Or is it something that I was taught by my religion? You know, don't have sex before you're married. If you have sex before you're married, you're
condemned to go into hell.
You're going to go to hell. And I have that history in my history that took, I made a lot of decisions about myself.
Out of fear.
Well, no, out of shame and disdain for myself. Because I had my first sexual experience outside of marriage. So I was, young and in love with my first love, and I had a sexual experience with him. And then at that moment, as soon as that happened, who I was to myself, like the choice I made about myself, was completely different. And at that point, I was no longer worthy. I had made the decision in that moment that I'm no longer worthy, that you are less than.
And did you make that decision that you're no longer worthy or you're less than because of the cultural place in your life?
Yes.
Not just religion, but home.
No,
our parents
it was
things or just
no, it was
what
100,
was it?
It was 100% religion because
because
I had been sat down with the Bible in front of me saying, you are a glory unto your husband if you're untouched, whatever.
Right.
I don't know.
All those things.
Yeah. And you're a rottenness in his gut if you're not.
Right.
So
let's throw some old covenant at you.
Yeah, baby. For sure. So I carried that burden, and I brought that unworthiness into my life, into my sphere for years.
Yes.
Years and years and years, and in lots of different ways, by the men that I brought into my life, the ways that I let people treat me, the ways I let, and also under the guise of, you can't make me, and, those kind of things, when really it was self-sabotaging to make sure that I made sure that I did not get what I want because really you don't deserve it. I was very smart in my, younger life. I made straight A's in school and everything. And then I got into that thing happened. And then now I'm not really worthy to go on to school and become what I had said I was going to do. I always wanted to be a veterinarian my entire life. That was my path. I'm going to be a veterinarian and I'm going to heal animals. Well, at the time that I graduated high school, it was harder to get into vet school than medical school. And I got into, I did not do well my senior year in high school. And I just tanked all my grades and everything. And that was absolutely no reason for that other than something was playing that was making sure, I was completely unaware of, to make sure that I effed it up so that I would not have the things I want because truly
didn't feel worthy.
I wasn't worthy of it. So who do I think I am? And so I was, it took a long time before I really realized lots of work and everything, but I remember when it came in my awareness, and I actually made a conscious choice to be worthy. I am worthy. And my entire life changed after that. So it may be a long time coming, but the awareness and the ability to see it is the first step and really the most important step. And as soon as you become aware of that, then something else comes out and you're like, what the heck is going on? But it's all the journey. It's actually, it can occur to you as like this arduous task, or it's like, wow, what do I get to learn about myself today?
Right.
And then actually, take that on full force.
It's personal development. So I encourage you to think for a moment, is there something, I call it a pot simmering on the back of the stove. So is there something simmering on the back of your stove, in the back of your mind, and you can see the replay? maybe simple things like every Christmas you have a horrible feeling, you just don't want to be there. Or every time you apply for a job, you have some kind of dread. Or when you're around the opposite sex, you feel hesitant and unsure because it's in every time. I encourage you to look for a pot simmering on the back of your stove. And as you begin to consider it, instead of running out to a therapist to ask them, oh my gosh, I've had this for 40 years, I just encourage you to stop, maybe just write down, reflect, what's in that pot? And let your subconscious, let the thoughts inside of you just flow. Mm-hmm. Don't look at them as, like she said, good or bad, or just look at the information and see if you can step back objectively and see if it makes sense to you. Oh, A plus B, 2 plus 2 does equal 4. That's why I'm like that. That's why I feel traumatized. Things of that nature. And it'll help you. And, we're here on a weekly basis, but there are plenty of places on YouTube. You can look for help with different protocols that holistic practitioners use, as well as medical practitioners, medical doctors even. Sometimes they use things, there's something called tapping. That's
brushing.
What is it?
Brushing. Yeah, to calm you down. Yeah.
Okay, yes. There's so many, I've got a list of techniques, but the one that came to really mind was tapping, and then she got brushing. So maybe look those up. See if you can apply them. And what does that do? You're taking personal responsibility for you. And is it a win? Is it a fail? It doesn't matter. It just is. And take the step toward the new you. What does this show? It's a new day for you. It's a new day for you. And make today a new day for you by practicing a new habit to reveal what's in the pot, so you can eliminate the pot or put something good in the pot to cook it.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. And we are mostly our memories of yesterday. That's we live life, assuming that's who we are, and we forgot that we get to choose who we are in every single moment. And this might start sounding woo-woo-y and out there, but it's actually how our brain works and how our mind works. And if you're conscious of that, then you can recreate yourself in any moment. And you are not predetermined by your history, just like you're not predetermined by your DNA. And we've talked about that in other shows. We'll talk about it in detail in one of our upcoming shows. But you are not predetermined to anything. You literally co-create your world with divinity. And so divinity and you are pretty kick-ass and can do anything you want. So I'm going to say something controversial here, that we absolutely manifest 100% of what we think and what we say. And I know that's a big statement.
That is. That's huge.
Yes. But I want you to stay with me here. Your thoughts are actual things. They're not just something that you have and then it goes nowhere. They actually are a scalar wave that gives instruction to the rest of the field. And we'll go into what the field is later.
What's a practical example on what you're saying? I know we're talking about scalar waves and things that kind of are above my pay grade right now, but I'm getting there. What's an example that I can see with my mind?
Okay, so something that occurs to you as a burden. I'll let you choose your burden because there's so many that are out there, and me assigning a burden would be assigning a good or a bad. But something that occurs to you as a burden. Like something I can think of in my life would be, I take on some financial burden and now I'm carrying it around and I want to be debt free. I live my life to be debt free. So if I take something on that I'm paying monthly payments on, then it would be a burden to me, and I would carry that, and it'd be, and I could make that really wrong and really make myself wrong about it, and God, I got
and
this,
feel disdain and shame for yourself.
Yes, I had to go, take a loan out on a car, but my entire upbringing, we pay cash for everything, and you don't take on debt and you don't do, I'm not saying that's true for me. I'm just saying that this is a way
it opposes your culture, your tapestry.
Whatever your culture is. And I could say, wow, I'm really ashamed I had to take a debt out on a car. And then there's somebody else that could hear that story and go, yeah, I got 3 cars with notes on them, and it's not a thing at all. So there's a charge to that because of my cultural upbringing, some decision, some choice I made about that being wrong. I made that in the wrong bucket.
So there's an emotion attached to the thought that is against the grain.
Yes, against your grain.
Right.
So when I say that these things...
And who decided what that grain was? But that's another day. Go ahead.
You did. You did. That's my point. Is if you're having something that's pinging you, that's something that's like, I don't like that, and especially if it's about somebody else, I really want you to be curious about that because it's something about you that you can't be with. But when you have that, just be curious about, what about me can't be with that? What about me and my decisions and the things I know to be true? What about me is telling me that's a bad thing? And just like, you've heard somebody say, oh, she's a bitch. We have archetypes in us, parts of us that are a behavior. And my bitch, sometimes she comes in handy. Sometimes I go, okay, sister, you up. And then I let her do her thing. I'm in control of her. She's not controlling me. What we're here to do is help you tap into it and remember you have it.
Could it be that when we are so young, we're still so in remembrance of who we are from the divinity? We're still so attached. Like me getting the invitation at 6 years old. Well, I was still little. And I knew exactly who was talking to me. Why? Because we were up close and personal before I even came to the planet.
Yes.
Right? So sometimes if we could just remember who we are, not just who we were,
yes,
but who we are in that innocence, in that freedom, before we got burdened with either our own prejudices or the ones that our family culture reinforced until we knew we could make our own decision.
Yes.
So those are the kind of things you look for in the pot, in the pot.
Yeah.
And it'll come in handy. So anyway, bless you.
And we will see you again next week.
Thank you for joining Your New Day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Cammie Owen. We look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it's yours. Until soon.